Now, question: since we are talking about
Are you
Wicked,
going
and
to see it, Sam?
I absolutely am going to see. I am
Okay.
going to see. I have questions, and y'all are going to help me out with this because I I need to know some things first. We've briefly discussed it before. I
Did
just
you
want to
read the
get
book
clarity.
yet? Did you read it or did you listen to it?
See, those are all the questions. Okay, so it's a book, it's a Broadway stage play, and now it's about to be a movie.
Right.
Okay,
And both the stage play and the movie are musical.
okay. Now I can go if I go in knowing I'm going to see a musical. I won't be shocked when they break out and singing and everybody in the kitchen know the words. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be throwing me sometimes. Cause I'm like, why, what, why are we? Oh my god, But my wife is a big fan of Wizard of Oz and The Wiz, and we've watched that so many times. So
You don't have to read the book to see. It's
and
just the
and
Wizard of Oz, but it's the witch's story. That's it.
and that part I understand. And this is now these are the witches. This Glinda Good Witch and the Wicked Witch of the West. Is this
West.
who these people become?
Yes.
Okay,
It's really the
yeah,
story of like everybody in Oz, like before Dorothy
Wizard.
like shows. Well, I think she does kind of show up a little bit, but it's really like, yeah, it's like not as far back as Oz the Great and Powerful,
Right.
but
okay.
it's like
Because Oz
between
Great and
Oz the
Powerful
Great and
had like its own
Powerful.
little interpretation of the story.
Well, because that was about how Oz showed up. The wizard
Right.
showed up in
And
Oz,
became the wizard.
Right.
and yeah,
By the time Elphaba comes, he is the wizard. He's been the wizard
yeah,
for a couple years, not like as long as he was by the time Dorothy came, but
Right.
so like say in this half of it, Dorothy would come, give her about 10 years.
Okay.
So like at the stage of this, 10 years later is when Dorothy would show up.
Because from what I understand, our two main characters in this one, they're like in I guess wizarding school or something, or witch school,
She
Yes.
is. User.
and
She's university.
this is taking place in the land of Oz, and so I'd like see, I told you I'm genuinely interested in this, and since I was the only person who wasn't previously familiar with it, I have to get on it. So we'll probably be doing a 3-month trial of Audible if they want to sponsor us because I be on Audible all the time. Um,
Me too.
but
I'm
y'all like
totally
Wizard.
addicted to my Audible.
Do y'all like Wizard of Oz as like an IP? Like, do y'all think that that's like an interesting world that
Books
needs to
are
be more explored?
the books
I
are. If they would do those movies the way the books are,
I would
yeah.
have
I
to
don't.
say yes because I've honestly seen or been involved in like all of the different Oz stories. We've watched them Return to Oz with Faruza
Perusa.
Balk. You know what I'm saying? We checked that out,
So
and
far, that's the closest one, I think, to the books, to the
yeah,
feeling of the books, because that movie is creepy.
yeah,
Is that the one where the
and
lady got all the different heads?
Yeah.
yeah,
Like that
Oh yeah,
feels more like the book. The rest of the movies are more fantasy and the Yellow Brick Road and Wonderful, Wonderful.
right.
That movie is closer to what the books feel like because they are
see
heavy.
that. See,
They're
I'm
not
glad you
heavy,
said
but
that
like they're not
because
like light.
see, I've always felt like Wizard of Oz is actually like scary, like low
Oh yeah,
key,
It
but
could
like
definitely be.
it's presented as like happy musical for most of it. But like once we get to like the flying monkeys and the castle and all that, like I think I may have only seen the original Wizard of Oz all the way through once. Like
When
I'm
I was
pretty
a
much
kid,
done when they
them
get to
flying
the flowers.
monkeys,
yeah.
them
But see,
flying
even
monkeys
Yeah.
was it for me. Mm-mm.
when the wizard says, "Okay, I'll help you out, but you got to go kill the witch." Wait, we killing people now? We was just on the yellow brick road, and you're sending me off to assassinate somebody. What?
Not only that, but basically, in all actuality, sending her to her death. Like he did not expect for
Right.
this little
Right.
girl to
Right.
beat the Wicked Witch of the West. This was
And
his
was
biggest
not prepared for her
nemesis.
to come back. Like, oh
Exactly.
wait, give me just a minute. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I think everybody has, and Brandy, you could probably help me out here in a second, but everybody has some unique story because for those people who are only familiar with Wizard of Oz or The Wiz, the Cowardly Lion was alive and running around for some time before Dorothy got the Tin Man was the Tin Man before he got rusted in place. Scarecrow has been around for some time before he finally got down off his perch. So all of these characters were there before Dorothy got there. And of course, there's of course, everything doesn't always have to be a prequel, but a story of how somebody ends up where they are, or you know what I'm saying? Like
It's
there's
in the book.
definitely room to explore more in the story in the world of Oz.
They're terrible. You know the Tin Man story? You know how he became the Tin Man?
Like that's
He pissed off a witch and she enchanted his axe. He was a woodsman. And every time he would swing his axe, he would chop off his body part and he would replace it with tin.
such times now completely cut. There was a TV show called Tin Man that starred I think it was Zoe Deschanel was on it,
Yeah.
and it was a loose.
I tried to watch it so many times.
I don't even know. I don't think I even heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was like it was kind of one of those like modern
Like
day
Once Upon a
like
Time?
retellings. Yeah,
yeah.
pretty much
Okay.
like that. But it was like I don't know.
Who was
It got too
this?
weird.
Zoe Deschanel, I like her.
I think it was like one of those things where it got too into the like, yeah, let's modernize everything. This will be like
Okay.
this, and these guys will be outlaws. And it's like, bro, like you doing too much like back work before you even know if we care about it. Like, let us just come back, show us like what's going on, and then we'll let you know like what. That was my question about. That was my question because I think there's like a lot of franchises like that where, like, I even think about Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, the Chronicles of Narnia, and how we
Oh,
have
what,
not
8 books
gotten
they got?
through. We haven't gotten through all of those with like quality
At all.
materials yet. The first, I mean, the ones Disney was doing was cool, but then it's like some of the stories ain't that interesting for like the big screen. Like Prince Caspian, like I don't care.
Right.
Like I don't.
Right.
But
Isn't that
I
the one
think
with the
that like
mouse? Ain't that the one with the
yeah,
mouse? Yeah,
yeah.
no, we don't need to see that.
And see,
That was the
I
driest
read the
book.
book, but like the first Lion Witch and Wardrobe movie was good, the Disney, but
Yeah.
they just fell off. And I feel like Wizard of Oz is like one of those franchises. I believe it is now entered into like public domain. So you can like use that structure. I know Kenya Barris was supposed to be making I don't know if it's a hip hop Wizard of Oz or what. He was saying it's not the Wiz, but it's supposed to be Wizard of Oz and some storytelling. He was talking about it years ago, but I ain't heard nothing about it. Who knows? But
I
I
don't
feel like
know.
I
I just
want
know
them
the
to I
Wiz
want
used to scare me too. The Wiz scared me worse than the Wizard of Oz because they had more creatures that was
Start
terrible.
picking off that
Them things that came off the walls. Are you kidding me? I was a child like
right before
that.
And
everything that happened right before Brand New Day is the part that used to freak me out.
in the subway,
Subway.
it's the whole subway part.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Stuff of
Them
nightmare.
things, them wheelie things. Oh
yeah.
no, that movie was scary. It was scary. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Now
no, it
it does
was.
say here the Wizard of Oz is not entirely in the public domain. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, the original novel, that entered the public domain in 1956. New material added to the novel, such as illustrations for a new publication, that's still protected by copy. The other copyright, the other status of the Oz books, let's see, The Marvelous Land of Oz hit public domain in 1960. Royal Book of Oz and Kabumpo in Oz, they were 1997 and 1998, respectively. And The Hidden Valley of Oz uh, will be in public domain in 2047. And Margaret Hamilton's characterization of the Wicked Witch is protected by copyright, so no other adaptations must be unique.
Which is interesting. So you think they gave them okay for the green for because there's no mention that the witches has to be green. That was their interpretation of that character. So like for Wicked, then they must get a cut, right? If it's copyright,
Possibly.
her
I think it's one of
characterization.
those things. If they probably like
Like in
you
the
get around it.
Wicked
If
book,
you don't
she's
call her
green, but in the Wizard of Oz, I don't believe they make mention that she's green.
no,
But I think
Yeah.
it's like I think they just make her not be like how the lady was, how she was all like and doing all that.
Oh, my
Like you can't
pretty,
do
like
none.
that
Yeah, you
kind
can't
of
do none
stuff.
of
Your little
that.
dog too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and yeah, and I think it's also one of those things like if you're careful to not say the phrase the Wicked Witch,
I
or
see
if
what
you
you're
say the
saying.
Wicked Witch, you can use that term because that's in the book. But the mannerism and the characterization of the Wicked Witch, that part is what has to be made different.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she's like, "Yes, I'll get you and your little dog too." That's fine. You can absolutely do that.
Right.
Like you said, if you do that, then you're using her portrayal, and that's the part that's
Okay.
so we've got
Which, in my opinion, that should be the standard. Don't get on here doing no impression of another actor who's already done the role.
Facts. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true
what's the
too.
point?
and I think honestly that's what makes the casting choices work because if you come in here then you're doing impersonation of the previous person who did the role. We don't need that. That what's changing. We're
Right,
getting
we
the same
got it.
thing. Right. We already have that. We don't need you doing because if you don't do a good impersonation of that, then you've
Now
wasted
you
our
just made
time.
us mad.
Right.
Right.
You've wasted our time. And if you do a great impersonation of that, well, then we haven't gained anything. It's the same thing. So, but I do think that is an interesting part of as far as just like casting in general, because if you know what, this kind of ties into, you know what, we won't use that example because we're not going to talk about that anymore. But it's when you have multiple people play a particular character, everyone of course always wants to try to put their own spin on it, which is
Yeah, he
good.
said Bond. Jeff
Yeah,
said
and
Bond earlier.
that's a
It's a
much
perfect
better. Thank you.
example.
We'll use that one instead. And you get people who become attached to a particular version of that character. Even like Jeff was saying, with all the different versions of Wicked, because it's a stage play. If it's in this city and they saw it, and then it goes to that city and they saw it, you have different people who played this character, and you start saying, "Oh, the third time I saw it, oh, the lady that she was fantastic. First time I saw it, like they were okay. Her voice wasn't as powerful, but oh, when Idina did it, you know what I'm saying? So it's you start to have those interchangeable
And
comparisons because for all the
and I'll
Bond
say this:
movies,
the theater crowd is not nice. If you are
No.
not good, they will not. It will not be no. Oh yeah, it's all right, babies. No, we saw a play on the cruise ship, and we heard a mother and a daughter talking about it the next morning, and they was like, "Yeah, that was like a high school production." Blah 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 blah. Now these people sounded pretty good to me. We rocking and rolling on the cruise ship. I'm not expecting a Broadway spectacle on this
Broadway.
production of ABBA's Mamma Mia. You know what I'm saying? They was doing their thing a little bit. The play was a little bit long, but the way these ladies was talking, they was like, ugh, we expected way better. So you gotta come with it when you do like Wiki and everything. Like I
Yeah.
said, everything's gonna be scrutinized. Everything's gonna under a fine tooth comb. If you thought these people, and she should know that because she comes from theater. She should know they're
Yeah.
not letting you get away with no BS. She should know the appreciation that community
Mm.
has for tradition
yeah.
Yeah.
and paying homage. Paying homage is a big thing. And maybe she
And
felt
I
like she
mean,
did it, and maybe they felt like maybe you ain't do it quite enough.
I was about to say she's even acknowledging the fact that the original poster that's used for the movie is recognizing the Wicked Broadway poster. Like that's why the characters in the same position. That's why the other characters to the side. You're clearly taking your inspiration from what came before.
It's definitely homage and not imitation.
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
somebody was just saying, like, hey, that was cool. Ooh, you know what also would be cool? Look, now it looks just like the post, and it's like,
And apparently that is not cool.
but to suddenly go to the Pearl
It's
collection
not
and
as
the
unheard
gas
of as it's
band,
not as unheard of as they trying to make it seem.
it's just
Maybe they felt like they did it close enough to where nobody would have to do it, and then people was just like, not
But
quite.
it's not exactly. Do they? Maybe the circles that I tend to travel in, I hear that term a lot. Like, if something
exactly.
Exactly.
gets made, the costume is not exact. Do you see how there's a seam? There's not that seam, and that
You know what?
seam is important. Let me add that seam in. See how much better it looks.
Oh
Like
yeah, see, that suit's double-breasted, and that's not gonna work for James Bond because you can't unbutton a double-breasted jacket quick enough to get a gun out. It's dumb. He would never wear a double-breasted tux. If they know
Literally.
anything,
So,
Ian Fleming did a
you
whole
know,
2-page explanation. So of course
just
that was one of
saying.
the things I remember when I was watching Casino Royale, and Vesper is like breaking down Bond, like, let's see, top of your class at Oxford, but someone else paid the bill. Your watch, it's a such as, you know what I'm saying? Like she's just going through everything. And I'm like, I actually read that in an Ian Fleming book where he explained why the outfit is the way it is and all that type of stuff. And literally one of the things they came up was a double-breasted suit. If you have to button inside, you can't open the jack. Minor detail. But those people who see that and they're like, it's right. It's not exact. Attention to detail. It doesn't fit everywhere. And I don't think I would have noticed, for example, the red lips. If it had not been pointed out in the article, it wouldn't have been something that stood out to me. Now, perhaps maybe it's one of those things where it's a practical effect for a Broadway stage play, because if you're sitting out in the crowd, they're up there. It's like why they do white gloves and stuff like that so that you can see the movement. So they have the green paint and the bright red lipstick. You can see her mouth move when she sings and that sort of stuff. In a movie, you're going to have like a 4K zoom lens. You don't need red lips. You can see her. She's right there. That could be why it's not there and why it wasn't necessary. And or maybe she just hasn't entered that chapter of her life. She's still in college and modest and not wearing red lipstick, but something's going to
Well,
happen. And
the thing is, the red lipstick is only on the poster. If you look up any of the most of the women who play that character on stage, they wear darker lips. The
okay.
way that
I just
she's
never,
portrayed,
I'm
it's
telling you, it was never a thing that I thought about until
No,
me
me
just
either.
either.
now. I'm really sitting in my mind like, does she have red lips in the play? I don't.
See, and the only time that color ever really like seems to stand out or was represented in my head was the ruby red slippers. That's the only thing I can remember about Oz or anything where red was prominent or featured. I don't remember anything else. And of course, it was like she
Dorothy
wanted to
was
get
wrong
her
for
hands
stealing
on
them
those
shoes.
ruby red slippers
Dorothy was dead wrong for taking them shoes. And Glinda was wrong for
off a
that.
dead woman. You know what I'm saying?
Glinda was wrong for that. I listen.
And then the sister shows up and was like, I want my
Get
sister's
out of
shoes.
here.
And she's
I
like,
want my shoes back. Like
right, like, you know what I'm
gotta
saying?
play her
Like,
like she was wrong for
give me my
putting her.
sister's shoes. And it wasn't like Dorothy
Once
was like,
once
oh,
you
my bad.
go and you understand those shoes, you really gonna be like, "Ooh, Galinda was wrong for that.
Yeah.
She was wrong for that."
I mean, obviously the red slippers were pretty powerful because it had the power to take her home when nothing else. So
Yeah, and lost them in the desert. A tragedy.
I don't know. They, being able to they could fly and can't use her crystal ball. Like there's I know a little something. Like I said, my wife likes Wizard of Oz a lot, so I know a little something about it. That's why I was like those red slippers. She was trying to get to those. It's the only time the red comes up. Maybe the red lipstick's connected to. I don't know. I'm reaching now subtext.
To be fair, never mind. You'll find out.
Okay. I would be looking forward to
Just
see it.
about the
And
red of the red slip.
it's probably like it's more about the ruby part.
Just
I get it. I get Wicked. So I'm gonna find Wicked
I gotta
on
figure out how to. I want to watch
Audible.
that. I don't
See,
want to read it because Wicked the book is a lot, and I'm good on that right now. But I want to watch Wicked
yeah.
the show.
See, I have to see what else this person has done 'cause I don't know this narrator. 19 hours and 42 minutes. Huh. Okay.
That's my kind of audiobook.
I was like, say, okay.
That's why it's a heavy book, so it probably would be better to listen.
It
That'll
was
that'll
so good though. It
that'll get
was
me through.
It
so
was,
good.
but his language, I was engrossed in the story, but I was like, sir, sometimes I don't need you 2 pages of you describing the fields outside this town. that don't have nothing to do with what the heck is going on over here. We trying to figure out why Elphaba is green and all of the things that's happening. And you over here telling me about how the town crier is married to a cruel woman and they live in a hovel and they have 3 dogs. I don't care about.
I didn't have a problem with that.
It would take me out of the story sometimes because I'm like, I realize I'm reading and I'm like, just read 3 pages about a forest. And now I'm back in the story, and the forest don't got nothing to do with what is going on over here. Like, that drives me nuts. And I like wordy people. I love Anne Rice books, and Lord knows she could talk the fleas
Oh
off a
wow,
dog.
that's
Whew.
funny. That's funny
I
because I
know
can't take Anne Rice books because
because
there
of
are
that.
too many words.
Yeah.
She-
But
yes,
you have to like, you can't just have someone describe the flame. You have to like feel like you can see the flame. There's a difference. Like
Yeah,
you
and
oh
have
I
to be
yeah, I
love
burnt my
connected,
hand. I was in there with the flame.
right? Like you have to be connected to that flame as it exists
I
because
love Interview with the Vampire. The story, loved it, but she could
Yeah,
have left half those words out.
she's wordy. She
it
is.
was a very wordy, yeah, it was a very wordy story. But I mean, when you get down to some of the latter ones where Christopher comes in and you can see like his influence on some of the books because like
Yeah.
Pandora was kind of easy to get through.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
What was the
Blood
one?
and Gold, do up,
The violin, and
yeah, yeah, Vittorio, even
yeah,
the
I was about to
last
say,
one,
what's the handsome, what's the little the cherub? What's his name?
Armand,
He had a book, Armand's book. Like, yeah, you can tell later, but
yeah,
like the witching hour, this thing,
yeah,
like, ma'am.
yeah.
The water was blue. It was dark. It was wet. The current was salty. The air a lot like.
And then the
But we're not
10-minute
even talking
discussion on
about
how
that. We're talking
water
about
itself is
what's
not
going on
wet,
in
but
the
water
dining
makes other
room.
things
What?
wet. Like, don't forget to include that part in as well. But yeah, I
But
mean,
I
like
don't know. The way she describes it, I do feel like I can feel the silks on the walls
right.
of these homes and the crystal chandeliers. I'm there. Plus I went when I went to New Orleans and I stood outside the First Street house and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the terrace where Antha died. Like, I'm a
Yeah,
fan. But
yeah.
yeah,
My
no,
kid's middle
wicked.
name is it's Marius Armand. So yeah, right there with you, right there. But we've given everyone lots of words tonight, and I appreciate
Sorry.
everybody
It just
being here
I
with
told
me.
you I'm a fangirl. Don't get me started.
No, it's hey, I'm fanboy. You see, I was right there with you. And I was like, you know what? Let me stop before we get started. I caught it. We started talking about vampires. We lost Jeff. That's how I knew we was in a tangent over here. As long as we was talking Oz, he was there. We got to talking
I
just about
wish
the
we
witches and the vampires. He was like, wait, what? So no, I want to thank everybody for being on here with me tonight. Wicked comes out November. Everybody plan to go see it?
I already have tickets.
I mean, come on.
Okay, all right.
I cried at the trailer. Let's go.
So everybody here,
LFG.
within obviously, it sounds like we're gonna have to do a full review,
yeah,
and
for
we will
sure.
do as it gets closer. We can probably get more into like actually, as soon as I get this book taken care of, we'll come back and we'll talk about the story and where we think the movie and
I
how
gotta
that's gonna work.
reread it.
Me too.
I mean, I'll get ready to start it, so I want to do book club. Jeff, have you read the book? I'll let me get online, see what I can do. Maybe we can just book club this thing right before the movie come out. I'll talk with RG and maybe we can get everybody in. I want to thank everybody again for having been here tonight. We are Grown A Geeks. This has been Geek Chat. For Brandy, Teresa, Jeffrey, and Elder Geek Sam, we are out of here. Peace.